Media attention has a way of changing everything. As Tina Fey once joked, if you ever start feeling good about yourself, just open the internet. And for Blake Lively, that attention became central to how this story unfolded. Blake has repeatedly maintained, both publicly and through her legal team, that she had no role in the conflicts on set and that anyone who distanced themselves from Justin Baldoni did so independently. But evidence now suggests something very different. Behind the scenes, Blake was actively working to consolidate support for her version of the film, particularly during post-production, when creative control mattered most. To make that happen, she needed one key ally, the book's author, Colleen Hoover. Blake granted Colleen extraordinary access to the editing process, allowing her into the editing bay and encouraging her to provide extensive notes directly to Sony. This wasn't collaboration for collaboration's sake. Blake had not read the book prior to filming and did not fully understand the source material beyond the script. The film itself had already been shot under Justin's direction. In post-production, Blake needed Colleen's authority and credibility to legitimize her cut. That decision would later backfire. During Colleen Hoover's deposition, she was asked why she unfollowed Justin Baldoni before the film's premiere. Her answer was direct. Blake asked her to. Additional messages show that other cast members also unfollowed Justin at Blake's request. Yet just days later, Blake sent messages to high-profile friends portraying Colleen as someone who independently opposed Justin and supported Blake's version of events. That narrative does not align with the testimony or the timeline. What's especially notable is that Blake repeated a rumor suggesting Justin had misrepresented Colleen's religious beliefs, an allegation that appears to have originated online, not from Justin himself. No interview, statement, or messages surfaced in which Justin made such claims. Nevertheless, the rumor was weaponized internally and used to turn collaborators against him. As tensions escalated, Colleen, who had initially been included in script revisions and production discussions, became emotionally aligned with Blake, especially after being granted greater creative influence. When Justin later confided in Colleen about a growing power struggle during post-production, she rejected his account and instead relayed the conversation back to Blake. Shortly after, Blake expanded Colleen's role further, having her draft pages of notes to studio executives, notes Blake herself could not author due to her lack of familiarity with the book. This alignment extended to cast members as well. Blake had limited interaction with much of the cast during filming, particularly younger actors whose primary experience had been with Justin and the production team. To bridge that gap, Colleen became the intermediary. Through her, Blake formed relationships with cast members who otherwise had little exposure to her. Evidence from depositions shows that concerns about Justin were shared with cast in informal settings, something widely considered inappropriate, as actors should not be pulled into executive-level disputes. One major example occurred at Book Bonanza, a fan-focused literary event. Justin was originally expected to attend. Instead, he was removed from the lineup, and Blake's cut of the film was screened in his place. Deposition testimony confirms that Colleen expressed discomfort with Justin attending and had influence over his removal. Cast members believed they were participating in the event instead of Justin, reinforcing the perception that he had been intentionally sidelined. By this point, Blake had effectively secured control over three critical areas: the edit, the author's public support, and key cast relationships. As the film approached release, Blake and Ryan Reynolds still held leverage. But once the movie entered theaters, that leverage diminished. They did not own the IP, they were not studio executives, and they were not affiliated with the production company. Public support from studios became limited and procedural. Control over public perception, especially on social media, was no longer guaranteed. Internal messages from Ryan Reynolds during this period reveal a shift in strategy. In lengthy texts to Colleen, Ryan framed the film's success as a shared victory, repeatedly inserting himself into a process he was not formally part of. He praised Colleen and Blake while disparaging Justin, attributed online criticism to shadowy crisis teams, and positioned himself as both protector and gatekeeper to elite industry access. Colleen, lacking a professional PR team and unfamiliar with Hollywood power dynamics, accepted many of these claims at face value. She openly expressed confusion, anxiety, and vulnerability, while also internalizing the narrative that criticism was manufactured rather than organic. In reality, much of the backlash came from her own readership, fans reacting independently and publicly. What becomes clear through these communications is a consistent pattern: isolate the target, control the narrative, reinforce loyalty through access and validation, and attribute all opposition to bad actors. Social media, however, does not operate like legacy press. It cannot be managed solely through influence or reputation, and that miscalculation proved costly. In the end, Blake secured her cut of the film not through consensus, but through triangulation, turning the author against the director, then cast members against the director, and finally presenting unity where division had been engineered. This is only a fraction of what the unsealed documents reveal. As more records become public, the broader picture continues to emerge. The story behind the camera is far more complex and far more calculated than the one audiences were initially shown.